big 3, 2, 1. What's up, Scrub Hub? Right in the camera.
That's right.
What's up, Scrub Hub?
What's up, Scrub Hub?
With a delay. Well, that's okay. There are reasons there are delays. What's up, Pants?
There are good reasons for delays. Doc, how you doing, buddy?
Dude, like, this is weird. All right, obviously anyone's watching. If you're listening, you probably don't notice. But if you're watching, this is a different format, and I don't know where to look. I either look at the camera or I look at Pants. Anyway, what's up? I am Doc Bishop. Welcome to Scrub Hub Game Club podcast.
That's right. Welcome. We are doing this digital thing, whatever you want to call it, over Discord, because Pants has COVID, unfortunately. Finally caught up to me. I dodged it plenty of times throughout the last 2 years, but
and I gave you I gave you the ability to come over still, so I'm glad you chose not to.
Yeah, I definitely, because it's just a tricky time. It's better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
I at start didn't feel that bad, but long story short, guys, be safe out there. Don't be breathing and licking people, and don't eat the gum in the subway.
Is that what happened?
That's all I'm gonna say.
You're licking people and eating people's gum.
It wasn't necessarily because I don't want to lick everyone. Like, some people smell bad, but that gum, dude, I don't know how they retain the flavor. You just walk past and it's sticking on one of those like little rods or like a fucking telephone. It's just hard, juicy fruit. Or actually, what's
I stared in the camera way too long.
Dirty mouth. The dirty mouth fucking joke.
Oh my gosh,
I just
guys!
need to brush my teeth.
Anyway, we're here to talk about Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Right. This is going to be a part 1. We only played through the first 6 chapters of the game. So that way it gave you guys a chance to play the game or maybe watch us on stream if you caught either myself or Pants, at least some of it. And it gives you a chance to now kind of hear our feedback, hear our thoughts. Hopefully you can share your thoughts, and then we're going to continue the game.
Right on. We played, I don't know if you said this, chapters 1 through 6 we completed?
Yep, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because there was an introduction chapter.
Gotcha.
I believe there's 6 more chapters, so I think we're like halfway through the game.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Even though I thought the game was over.
I would, it's, you thought it was over.
It felt like it was.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that with this game in particular, obviously we brought it up probably a dozen times now. I don't even know what episode this is, to be honest with you, but we obviously
100?
Look at the game, right? Yeah, episode 100 right here, baby. But we obviously look at the game a little bit first to understand how we're going to piece it apart, right? How are we going to play half of it? How are we going to play like a section of it, move on? So we said, okay, let's look at this game, and it actually is broken up into real physical chapters, like,
which is nice.
You really do just, yeah, it is very cool. So you have some kind of like concrete start to a chapter, and there is a hard finish to a chapter. It tells you.
Yeah, and I think that was really nice because, kind of like what you're saying, it gives us a chance to, because some games are bigger. Obviously, some games are bigger than others. Some games are really small, and it gives us a chance to know: are we going to break it down? Or are we going to talk about it all in one episode? And I feel like this game, I don't think we could give it the justice by talking about all of it in one episode. So we decided to break it in half. And this is for both of us, it's a brand new, never before played the game. I've never even seen the game until I think I watched the beginning of your stream.
Yeah, I had. So my understanding of it was like a horror game, right? Kind of looked like a horror game a little bit, and it kind of has that feel of it. And I don't know, the more I've gotten into it, it feels more like a all-in-one, completely inclusive adventure game. It's got so much in it for the adventure side that it's hard for me to look at other adventure games and be like, are you really an adventure game?
Yeah.
Because this takes me on an adventure. This
game is so wild. So one, let's talk about it a little bit. One, the game is put out by Nintendo. anyone who has a GameCube or has ever had a GameCube knows about this game probably.
Actually, important to note, you played it on console, I played it on emulator.
That's true.
Because I don't actually have a GameCube to fucking play on, so...
but you've heard about the game.
Yeah, of course.
So anyone who's had a GameCube knows pretty much about Eternal Darkness, probably in some way. They've probably heard, oh my gosh, it's a horror game I need to play, or oh, it's crazy and blah, blah, blah. Like, people hype it up a lot. I don't know that I've ever found anyone that's like, nah, man, Eternal Darkness sucks. Like, I haven't heard that. So Eternal Darkness is brought to us by Nintendo, by a creator named Denis Dyack, who also did Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain. Also did a couple other games. And brand new game, real quick. Just want to sneak it in there. Dead House Sonata coming out as well. Free to play a RPG, so action RPG, where you play as the undead. That game's coming out. DeadHouseSonata.com. You can check it out, all the info. That's going to be it for my plug right there. But you start the game and it's basically like this gruesome murder of Alex, who's the main character. And like her grandpa gets killed, right? And then she gets sent to, or she goes to his mansion to kind of like figure out what's happening. Like, how did he die? Who killed him? And now you're in this mansion, and it felt very much like the old school Resident Evil games.
It does feel a lot like the Resident Evil games, actually. Which, starting out, there was... I want to say there was maybe like 2 hours initially where I was not super digging the game because of two major things. Mm-hmm. A was actually the Resident Evil style gameplay or whatever, and the second was like the saving mechanics, which we'll get into that a little bit. But I like started the game, was playing it, got into it, and I died and had to start the whole game over. And I think it was like,
I saw that happen. You're like, what?
I was so confused. I was like, wait, there's no like autosave or anything, or like what's going on here? But yeah, it does. It right off the rip feels like you said, like it's kind of hard to put words on, but the play style feels very in your face immediately with movement and whatnot, like how the camera angles and stuff, and like. But as I'm sure, once again, we'll get into this, those things kind of change a little bit. Like camera angles in certain rooms even change.
It's got
depending on what's going on, or
it has a like static.
Like there's a lot of Dutch angles.
I don't know what that means.
Dutch angles. So Dutch angles is like, so you have like a camera angle. It's like in film. So you have a camera angle that's like straight on, 90 degree. It's like level. Then a Dutch angle is like this. Like, so it's like down in the corner of the room, but someone's like sideways, or
okay.
Like, because sometimes they add like filters or
right. So that goes into another mechanic of the game. But so like I was gonna say, it definitely has that like static angles. Like you walk into a room and that's kind of your only angle. It might shift a little bit as you explore the room, but it felt very much Resident Evil-ish. You walk around the house, you find out there's kind of like little puzzles. Nothing really crazy. Maybe you open a door, maybe it takes whatever. Then you find this thing called the Tome of Eternal Darkness. And then the game opens up into a wild, just ridiculous aspect. And so I don't want to like spoil the entire game, but we're probably going to spoil it. So here's some spoilers. But basically, it seems like you go back in time and you play as a completely different character in the Roman era, named Pius Augustus, I think is what his name was. And now you're running around with this guy with a sword, and you're like fighting these demon things. And then he becomes the bad guy.
It's so random how like
spoilers. Here's the ending of the game.
Yeah, then he just becomes the bad guy basically. There was a lot of decisions in this game that I thought were interesting for the story. Kind of like they clearly, because I don't know the whole story yet. Only played 6 chapters of it.
We've only played 6 chapters, and there's a lot that doesn't make sense. So we have like some undead like zombie guy, and we have 2 elder gods, I guess, is what we say, right? They're elder gods.
I want to say it's 3, right? Because there's like the 3 main things.
Is it 3?
There's blue, red, and green. Like they keep talking about this one god, and I always thought that was like the blue one. Because they keep relaying that rune.
But we only know
we don't know of the others. Well, we know the 2, but we don't know the third. So like
if there's a third, because there's like murals. There's murals in it that you find that you can look at that are really cool. And they talk different things about these different gods. We've seen 2. There may be more. But there's a lot of stuff going on that I just don't know 100% the answers. Don't know why we're doing exactly what we're doing. But it's all connected, clearly.
Yeah, it's... I became very accepting of the game probably around chapter 3, where I was like, okay, this is just the cycle of like the way this you start to pick up when you're like, okay, we do X amount of things character after we pick up the page, because you get the Tome of Darkness, which I believe already has a page in it. So you read it.
All Alex does is read the book when she finds it, kind of.
Okay,
and then there's a page there that you find. So
is that page the one that has Pius in it?
Yes, that's the first page.
Okay, so what you actually do is you find the book and then you start finding the pages. The pages are what you read that send you into a new chapter. And like Doc said, first one's Pius or whatever. So like after like the second one, which I think was
it's the girl. I forget her name. Carilla or I'm going to look it up. I don't even remember that well. You continue talking. I'm going to look it up. Because I don't know why I didn't write this down. I should have.
So obviously, like I said, you get into a game, you start to, sometimes, depending on what game it is, pick up on what it's about, pick up on the cycles and things like that. So around chapter 3, I was like, okay, I get it. Pick up a page.
Elia, sorry.
Elia.
I was mixing 2 names. Elia is the second person you play as.
Okay. So I just started to pick up on like the cycle of the game and whatnot, and was like, all right, so we find a page, then we complete the chapter as this character. In the midst of those things, maybe you pick up a spell, or you get some kind of item, or actually no, not some kind of item. It is most of the time a spell that for some reason Alex carries on with her, or like she's remembering these things.
That's how it comes.
Seeing this. Yeah, that's how it seems. It's like, okay, so she gets sucked into this page, or maybe she's not even actually physically, because I'm not sure what's actually physically happening to Alex.
Yeah, I have a take.
So the way that I'm seeing it could be, so she's reading these pages of these stories of people that have found the Tome of Eternal Darkness for her. That was, I don't know, because these people that you play as they're finding, every single one of them found the Tome of Eternal Darkness in some way.
Right.
And
except for Pius.
Except for Pius, because he's seeking it. See, these things are starting to. No, because he's actually that's part of the main story. I clicked as soon as you clicked it. Because there's that god that he's trying to, the fucking Manta Rock is the big fucking Manta
Rock. He's the big blobby thing in the middle. The god of death, I think, is what it is.
Yeah. So
and then there's the other one, which I don't remember his name.
So these characters, as you find these pages, they in some ways have been in touch or like had the Tome of Eternal Darkness. So I don't know. It kind of seems like at first I thought they were her ancestors. Like I was like, okay, it's about your grandpa.
Yeah, I did too. I thought they were ancestors.
I was like, okay, maybe they're ancestors, and I was like, but they're not the Roivas, because the Roiva name is pretty important in this game. It makes seems right, and none of those people are Roivas. Like, none of them. Lindsay's not. Max isn't. Actually, excuse me.
Maximilian is. Yes.
Maximilian is. So I think that's when it right. So chapter 3, I was like, okay, I get it. And then we go into chapter 4 where we're playing as not Max, we play Cream, so it's chapter 5. as Max, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
which, by the way, I think he might have been my favorite character.
Dude,
to play.
that whole
I love
chapter.
Max.
So can I say something? So the game does this thing where you play as Alex for a little bit, and you're walking around the house and you're looking for an answer, right? She finds the tome, and then you find the first page. Boom, cool. Then you experience what a character in the past at some point experienced, their interaction with the Tome of Darkness in some way. And then it goes back to modern time as Alex, and you've basically gotten an answer, right? Like, it's given you an answer to where to go next, what to do next. And then you ultimately find another page that does the exact same thing, and you play as a different person. And that whole time, one of the coolest aspects of that, I do think, like, as these people are grabbing the getting the tome, they're gaining all the memories of everyone else prior. And so when Alex finds the tome initially, she doesn't have all the pages, therefore she doesn't have all the memories. So as she gains a new page, she gains all of their memories. And that leads to all the other answers of where she's going. That's why she doesn't know magic at the beginning, because the magic doesn't unlock until like chapter 4 or something, or it starts introducing it little by little,
slowly,
which is super
this
cool.
game, it's the way that that's set up makes it, because like how you brought up, there's a lot of, like, I don't want to say, like, there's a lot of mechanics and things going on with time. You're going back and forth. Even when you save, it'll say, like, you saved in 2000 AD as Alex Roivas. Right. And it'll show you, like, the character of the...
I was like, 2000 AD is Alex. That's a long time ago. It is, at this point, it's 21 years.
Yeah. But
so I mean, I was thinking
shows you
like
where you're
BC.
safe. Yeah. But it gets interesting because when you become a character, and I was thinking about this as I was trying to describe how each of those people had found the Tome of Eternal Darkness, they don't actually, like, they're not actually seeking it. They're not actually seeking out but what happens, so, like, I remember specifically with Lindsay, because Lindsay was, he was a very Indiana Jones-esque character. He had this, it's literally the plot.
I thought he was going to have a whip, dude, like...
Right. Dude, the beginning of that scene, are you a big Indiana Jones fan?
I've never seen a single one. I'm sorry.
Doc, those are like, everyone okay?
I've never seen
Everyone's
a single
always
movie.
like, bro, they're always like, oh, how have you not seen Harry Potter?
Yeah.
How have you not seen Lord of the Rings? How have you not seen Star Wars? How have you not fucking seen Indiana Jones? It's the adventure movie.
I don't know, dude.
Anyway.
I've never seen one.
Anyway, there's one movie in particular where I'm telling you, the beginning of that chapter was cut for cut an exact replication of that story. Within like the first 10 minutes with that other character. Well, it was Pius, the evil guy, how he transforms, but initially he's got that like lavish coat on, he's like real pale, and he's got the hat. That character is literally a character from Indiana Jones. He's the villain in Indiana Jones movie. Looks exactly the same.
That's funny.
Super funny, but when you start up that scene, you get rid of that bad guy, he goes into the dungeon or whatever, you kill those monsters, and you because you don't have magic yet. Lindsay does not have magic yet when you start.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
But again, like the point I'm making is that he wasn't actually seeking out the Tome of Eternal Darkness. He was like looking for some fucking treasure.
They were looking for the temple. Like,
right.
He wanted, which is, I think that goes to
and
a part of the game
nowhere.
that I don't understand, right? Like, Pius was there disguised as someone and was helping Lindsay find this temple. Or seemingly, like, he made it seem like he was trying to get him to find the temple.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
so it seems like there's a chosen.
Pius
like a
is
chosen one, or...
Pius is specifically looking for... I don't know if they call it the Heart of Darkness, but Pius is looking for the heart, right?
Yeah, we learned that at the end of that chapter. I think.
We learned.
We saw it. Yeah, we saw it.
We knew where it was, and then we discovered where it still was.
And that was the end.
And I think that's ultimately what Pius is looking for. What Lindsay was looking for is, hey, he knew about this temple that showed up on like GPS and stuff. Like he knew of its existence. And so, like you're saying, I think maybe there is like a chosen one. Because if they knew where the heart was, they couldn't get to it. But Lindsay was able to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a big, huge kind of like mystery cloud over all that stuff that we just don't know yet as far as the story.
Yeah. It makes it interesting to think about, even especially with what you just brought up. Because he just knew about this temple or whatever. He has no idea what the Tome of Eternal Darkness is. And in the midst of that dungeon, when Pius ends up like escaping and you have to fight those monsters or whatever, you start to go into the second room after completing your first mini puzzle with like dusting up the bracelet, putting it on, opens the door. Right. As you're walking through that door, and this happens with every character, right? This is
almost
how
every character. This is it doesn't happen with all of them.
Not all of them, but almost every character that has ran into the Tome of Eternal Darkness is randomly thrown into this room. Like they didn't enter a room that takes them into this one particular room where the tome is. They either walk through a door and it takes you somewhere else, mm-hmm. and then you respawn back at the door that you had you tried to enter. So it wasn't even like, it's almost like the Tome of Eternal Darkness and that space where like the monuments are, right? Like of like Max, there's a monument of Max, there's the monument of Anthony. It seems like that room is like omnipotent. Like it's not adhering to one time and space. It's like they are pulled. Each of those characters is pulled to that space, like exactly. in the middle of a timeline. So it almost seems as if maybe like we shouldn't be looking at it as time is linear, but like Alex is on the same part. Like she's just on the circle of time that everyone else is on, and the Tome of Eternal Darkness is like in the middle of that, and everyone just like keeps intersecting, and that's why like when someone new finds the Tome of Eternal, this could be like a gameplay mechanic though. This could just be something simple to the game's shit where it's like, well, you progress through the game, so you're going to keep all your spells. But it seems like since
it's a really cool way to do it though.
Super sick way if they meant to do it that way. Like, the person didn't have magic in this moment. Mm-hmm. They get thrown into this room where, like, the Tome of Eternal Darkness pulls them in, or, like, they're wrapped up into this story that's beyond them, and they're not aware of it because they could be chosen, or fucking, God knows what. Who knows what's going on here? We haven't finished the game yet, but
Elder
maybe...
God knows what.
Yeah, the Elder God knows. Manta Rock knows. Maybe they're just kind of wrapped up in some way in this larger story, and they're not aware of it. So when they find this tome, they now inherit all these abilities that, like, Alex or Kareem, or like maybe they're embodying the spirit, or maybe it's one soul. I don't know. Like, it's a very... so far, there's a lot left to the story. There's a lot of interpretation left to the story, but it's not. They're not holes, I don't think, because I think for any scrubby that's been part of the show, has been watching both you and I, they maybe I have built a culture of pointing out the holes and sticking with like, oh no, that's a hole in the game. This doesn't feel like a hole in the game, right? It just feels like it's a really large story. Like
it's definitely, the game is developing in revelations, right? So you start as Alex, you get the first page, you learn about Pius and his involvement, and then that gives Alex the location, or for whatever reason now the Gladius was on the wall, right? She knew it was a weapon, it's an artifact. Now she has the sword. Alex hasn't fought a single thing in this game yet. And I
except for the very beginning, the nightmare.
Except for the very beginning, there was a nightmare, and she had a shotgun.
But she's had a fucking sword the whole game for some reason.
So now you get the sword, and now you go to another. I forget where you find the second page, But you find a second page, and then you experience Elia, and you understand Elia's role in what's happening. And then after Elia, you find, I believe it's Kareem's next.
Kareem's 4.
Who's third?
And Anthony, the kid.
It's either way. It doesn't. I don't think that matters. It doesn't matter who's third or fourth. But my point is, she finds another page. Alex finds another page. You experience someone else's role in the ever enveloping story of what Pius and the other elder god, who I can't think of his name, they're trying to bring darkness into the world, and it seems like everyone else is trying to stop it in a weird way. Like this god of death is trying to stop it or something. But it's acting in revelation, so it's not it's like what you're saying, there's no hole. But it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. What's the next? What is the missing page in this book that will answer the questions I now have?
It's just it's super cool how they, and I'll say there's a lot of times the reason that I don't think it's a hole, and the reason that I'm not so quick to be like X, Y, Z, like they could have done this better or whatnot, is because of how much care and time they've put into, I think, what revelations you get at what times, right? They're actually, I can tell, and I feel like the story's not being handed to me in a burger wrapper. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's given to me on a platter. It's got like a fucking, it looks nice. It feels great. It tastes awesome. And I'm not like being force fed too much at one time.
Right.
And this is all in terms of it being ambiguous.
It's in nice little sections that you can understand, as opposed to a big ton of stuff and it's like puzzle pieces going together.
It's like you don't even know where to go or whatever. It's like they knew that they wanted to make a big story. This could also go into what age the game came out, right? Because we talked about this. Because the game came out in, what, like 2001, 2002?
2002.
Okay. So that is a long time ago. It was almost 20 years ago. So a lot of things potentially weren't possible on those discs. Now, we did have pretty large games. Like, I know Twilight Princess got put on that disc. Wind Waker got put on that disc. So there is a lot of possibilities on those discs as far as like adventuring and big open spaces and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think when you break a game down like this into chapters and you make it bite size, you're not taking away the playability of the game for someone that can't spend fucking a ton of time digesting all this story and like playing through it enough to remember and like figure it all out, because you just play one chapter at a time. The game literally very clearly tells you just to worry about like one chapter at a time. There's a little bit here and there, like you figure out the puzzles as Alex to get to the next part. Sometimes it can be a little tricky, but the game does a wonderful job at saying, you finally found a page. You don't have to worry about anything else. Just do the page. Like, now it's time to do a page.
Yeah. So that's essentially the game breakdown of the story. That's what we've experienced. That's what you can plan to experience as a player. You play as Alex, then you play as someone else, then you play as Alex, and you're just progressively finding out these things about this mansion and why all these things happened. Cool. Let's talk about the game mechanics, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because at the very beginning of the game, it feels like a Resident Evil game. You're dropped into a mansion, and you're like, okay, cool. Go figure it out. And you go room to room. You get some keys. Some of those keys open other doors. You're exploring. And it's the exact same with all the other characters. You're exploring. One of my favorite things, I want to say this. One of my favorite things is all the characters are unique in who they are, but they're all very unique in how the weapons they have and the time period, like their time period appropriate. And they all do like super different things when they do like their finishers when you're killing an enemy.
Oh yeah.
Like one of my favorites, I think, is like Anthony has like this dagger, right? And like an enemy's on the ground, like and he just like throws it down into their like head.
Yeah,
it's so cool. And every character is unique, even though you're doing the same thing. Every character is unique, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of finishing touches in this game that are impressive in 2021 even. The attention to detail in a lot of areas is really, really nice.
So that's just, and the normal combat. Oh, okay. I want to break this down in the next, I think there's really only these 3 things to talk about. And I think we should do it maybe in this order. Okay. The combat, which I'm about to talk about, like sword combat. The magic system, because I think the magic system's really cool and I would love to hear your thing. But then the sanity, right? I think that's what this game is known for, is the sanity. So I kind of want to put that to the end because our experience with that is absolutely phenomenal. So if you're listening right now still and you want to hear our takes on the sanity, that's going to be at the end. You can skip to the end if you want, or you can listen to our combat and magic and then the sanity at the end. So the combat, you get a sword, you play as Pius really at the very early of the game, and the combat is a targeting system that reminds me of kind of like Fallout. You know how like you had like the VAT system where you could target each individual thing, but instead of like freezing time and targeting, you're on the fly. You hold a button to lock on, and the joystick targets a left arm, right arm, the head, or the body. You can chop off an arm, you can chop off the head. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It wasn't just Resident Evil, point the gun and shoot. And
there's a lot in this game as far as like fighting style. I don't think, because it's not a fighting game or like
it's not.
It's not a game in which you get experience from killing things or whatnot. But for a game that you do have to kill enemies in,
and you have to kill them.
You do have to kill them.
I think you have to. Until you get to later chapters, I feel like you have to kill them.
There, one of 2 reasons. Either A, they will get back up and they'll start attacking you. And B, there's actually a lot of... It's a puzzle game, if we haven't already made that abundantly clear. There are certain triggers that you need to perform, or certain triggers that you need to go off for the next thing for you to do to become available, but you need to kill certain enemies to do that.
Yeah, like killing a big guy who's guarding something or something like that.
Yeah, I found that out the tough way because I can't remember the exact situation right now, but there was like a big dude that I was like, I really don't think I need to kill him. Like, I'm just gonna run past him because I was like low in health. Those like electric things, like the big dudes, like they always hit you unless you're like in a big area. Yeah. You're constantly being hit. Like, there's just no way to not be damaged. But yeah, there are definitely some times earlier on in the game, at least, where you must kill like everything. You just have to kill everything. Okay. But I don't know. I think for, like I was saying, for a game that you aren't, the primary intent isn't to kill things and get experience. They did a really good job at giving you a lot of different ways to kill those enemies and have fun doing it. And oftentimes, as you mentioned, those means of killing your enemies were pretty flavorful to the character you were playing and like the time period that you're in, because halfway through the game, it's almost like a history game, dude. Because you just going through, like, you went through the Roman Empire. We had a little bit of, I'd say, like, Middle Eastern history. You got that, like, Indiana Jones thing going on. You've got, like, the 1800s with Max.
And I can say, like, Dennis, from talking to Dennis and hearing him talk about stuff, the creator of the game, Slyflex. But, like, he loves history and stuff, dude. I believe there's a podcast. I should find it. Oh, maybe does it? I don't know. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. It may not be a podcast form, but he goes in talking like ancient Egyptian stuff, and dude, it's wild. He loves all that stuff. It's so cool.
That's rad. It's really good to know that the person that like, and you can tell playing the game too, it's all like, like he didn't bullshit on like every new area that you plan is a new area. There's not like, oh, I saw that jar. That's not a freaking like 800 before Christ jar. I saw that in 2000 or vice versa. Or that's not
right.
I saw that jar in the 2000s. It's got a fucking flower in it. So they didn't use like textures in different areas and like, no, they went all the way out. Like if it was Egypt in the 1500s, it was Egypt in the 1500s.
And even like, in the instances, there are a couple instances where you revisit the temple. Like, are you in the temple?
It's still different.
You're not in the temple every time, but there are a couple instances where you do go to the temple again, but it's at a different era. And in my mind, I don't know. I know we didn't talk about this in the story. It seems like the temple is moving.
I think that good call on that, Doc.
Like, I feel like
I don't think it's easy to pick up on that.
I think that temple is moving because we first find the temple during Pius's time, which is in Rome.
They teleported. Remember that?
Okay. So Pius.
What the fuck is that?
Hold on. So what?
What's that column thing then? Like what? So, like because only 3 of them hit that.
So Pius teleported. Kareem teleported, and Lindsay found the temple. Right? That's the 3 times.
Okay.
However, all 3 times, the temple was decorated in Roman, Persian. I want to say Kareem was Persian, and the jungle. Like, how do you decorate it in the jungle? I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like, the temple was still appropriate. It was still appropriate to the time period. Because even remember the big room that you walked into Pius? I remember you're like, that pillar's missing. And like you put the blocks in the wall the very first time. You revisit that exact same room, but those are like clearly different columns that are in that room. It's an entirely differently decorated room. And visiting the temple again in Lindsay's time is still very, very different.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're different temples.
So interesting.
I don't know if they're different temples or if it's the temple is like translocating, going different things, or what. I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting question. It's super few and far between for me where I end up having these questions and I'm not so quick to be like, oh, well, they just didn't do great at it, or like they should have done better at it. Like this game, it's really leading me to believe that they're doing all of this with an intent, which is surprising because it's easy to look at some of the graphical thing, which to bring it back, you said you were playing on console. You actually played on hard console.
On the GameCube, yeah.
And I played it on emulator, so I actually pushed it up to 1080p. So I pushed my textures and shit all the way up.
I'm playing
to make it look super nice.
I'm playing with a scaler, so.
Oh yeah.
It's still being upscaled for me.
It looked really nice. It actually looked surprisingly good. Except for like a couple of things like what was it, Max? Max, when I first saw Max when he's like in his room and writing, dude, he looks like he's fucking dead. He looks so dead. And, like under his eyes are all black and shit. But I really do have like I guess I've built up a strong enough trust with this game halfway through that I believe all the things that are in it were done for an intent and like truly done with a good intent. So it's hard for me to say that they could have done better with it, or like, you know, it's just really one of those situations where you got to wait it out until the end of the game, and then I'll be able to make a decision because then I'll have everything. I'll have everything I need to make that assumption, but hopefully, because we didn't get a second one.
I was like,
maybe we need one. Maybe to get Dennis to do a second one on the Switch.
That would be crazy. Like, I think it would be really cool to like. I don't know, compiled some questions for Dennis, and if he would answer them about this game, I think that'd be really neat. I'm definitely going to share this podcast with him. We were like, hey, here, we talked about your game. And we had such a great time.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Yeah,
just to get his thoughts, or just let him know, like, there still are people today that are playing this game and loving this game, and people being introduced to it to the first time, like the both of us.
Yeah.
And we're like, this game is great. So that's combat and a little bit of
super
stuff.
good.
So let's talk about the magic then, right?
Yeah.
So you
the
don't
magic is
so the magic is interesting, and it's also another one of those things, right? Where you're introduced to an enemy, and you're like, okay, cool. And you find out how to kill the enemy, and then as you progress, you're introduced to new enemies, and then it's kind of like puzzle pieced together. And so eventually, you find out about magic, and you find these runes that you can acquire. You find these things called magical codexes, which are like tablets with the same rune. And you also find like scrolls, which are the actual like magic spell itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you need all three of those pieces in order to craft a spell. Because I hear that alarm.
Oh no.
It's all right.
Crazy. My windows are shut too.
Welcome to what happens when you are streaming and things, and we're at a distance. But that happens.
Right.
So you need all these things.
COVID 2021.
And you don't necessarily find these things in a specific order. Sometimes you find the runes first. Sometimes you find the codex first. Sometimes you find the scroll first. The scroll tells you what runes you need. The codex tells you what the runes are. Like, if you just find a rune by itself,
is that for real? Is that what it is?
If you just find a rune, just the rune, the glowing, like, spinning around rune, and you go into the menu, it shows the rune you have, and then it has a question mark.
Question marks.
Yeah.
That makes sense, okay.
If you find the codex tells you what the word is and what it means, because it's not in English, right? So, like, in one, like, you might find a word that's like item, or you might find a word that's like, I forget what the first spell.
Protect,
or it wasn't enchant. The word wasn't enchant. It was something else. But those are the things, and then you find the scroll, which actually gives you the spell itself, right? So, like, enchant item, it's like, boom, this is the spell. These are the runes you need. And at the very beginning, all you're told basically is like, you can enchant a weapon and it needs these 2 runes, except it uses 3 runes total, but it tells you 2 that you need. Right? It doesn't tell you what the third one is. Do you remember that? And do you know why? Do you realize why?
No.
So, and you figured this out and this is what I'm saying. It's like, cool, boom. The first spell you can do is enchant item, right? You can enchant your sword, or you can enchant your weapon. Cool.
Right.
Well, then you find this out early, because it just kind of references it a couple times. There's different colored magic, right? There's red, blue, green magic. And there's a 4th magic, actually. There's red, blue, green, I think there's purple. And the game tells you, like, oh, it's a symbol, and it looks cyclical, and it's rock, paper, scissors. Right?
Oh, yeah, like yeah.
red magic, I'm going to say this wrong, but, like, I think red magic beats green magic beats blue magic beats red magic. Purple magic, I don't know. But it doesn't tell you the third rune, because eventually as you progress, so enchant weapon, you can enchant the weapon with the red magic, or you can enchant the weapon with the green magic, or you can enchant the weapon with the blue magic and the purple magic. So if you fight like those big, I think they're called Nagas, those big like 3-headed dudes. If you fight,
technically a form of Naga, I think, yeah.
Yeah, if you fight a blue one, then you can
you put like the green on it.
You enchant your weapon with the green magic, which you don't get that until Maximilian. Just so you know.
Yeah,
that's why most of them are blue all the way up into that point, because you don't have green magic, so they're a challenge.
Yeah,
like, so I think that's super fascinating, the way the enemies, but that's how the magic works. And there's like enchant and heal. You can eventually heal yourself. And each magic is tied to a different aspect of your person. So like your magic, your health, and your sanity. So you can use healing magic to heal your health by using the red rune, or you can heal your sanity by using the green rune when you get it.
I didn't even think about that. I haven't even tried to do that. Like, I just let my sanity be low, dude.
Like, you've probably had the green rune. You probably just got it, right? You get it as Maximilian. So you would have had the green rune as Lindsay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about that till halfway through that level. I'm like, wait, can I just change this and heal my sanity instead? Yes, you can.
Wait, plot twist. Can you heal your magic?
I didn't try. I should have. I was like, would that actually work? And my brain says no, there's no reason. But
this game might just like let you do it.
No, like, but what it might do, instead of it draining your magic to refill your magic, because that's silly, it may drain something else.
Like it'll. The tricky thing is I don't know where it would pull from.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either.
Yeah.
But that's my brain. Like, if you can do it, it would probably take from something else. So if like, oh, I really need magic, so it takes like some of your health away.
That would potentially make a big plot hole. Because then you could just feed yourself infinite everything, right?
Well, I mean, obviously, it would take more health than you would be able to. The amount of magic you gain would be less than the amount of magic you would use to heal yourself. So yeah. It would always be in a decrease than a positive. But I didn't try that, so I don't know. It's probably safe to say no, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
But it will be the first thing I try when I pick this game back up.
Right. Yeah, because we have another 6 chapters still. But so that's basically the magic system. Of the few, I don't even want to call it a negative remark, because it's not even negative. I think the magic was all super cool. It's all really new. And
it's all really new still.
Yeah, there's no magic system like this. There's like at all, like in any game I've ever played. There's never ever been a magic system like this.
Just wait till Dead House Sonata. DeadHouseSonata.com. That's my second plug. Sorry, but I'm super excited about the game, but I'm super excited about that magic system. So check that out. We don't know anything about it yet, and Dennis put so much work into this magic system, and I know he's putting crazy work into that magic system. It's going to be phenomenal.
You can tell. I was going to say that you can tell that, like, you know, they cared a lot about the entirety of this game. But you can see especially that somebody, maybe it was Dennis, maybe it was one of the devs that was friends with Dennis that had, you know, a little pull on him, really loved the magic system. So
I would say the magic is, if I was confident in anything, it was Dennis's baby for sure.
Okay, so I do have a little bit of a negative remark then. If it was Dennis and wasn't just like someone else or something, he put a little too much into it for what the game is. The game's rather simple. And the whole rune system and stuff seems like this. It's like it didn't need to be like this big, like in concept. Like, I don't think you need to find the codexes and then find the rune. Just find the runes, or just find the codexes. Like it didn't need to be like this trifecta of pieces to like get this one final spell finally together after finding all these different components. Granted, like I said, like it's not a complaint the way that it played out.
Yeah, I wonder if
because walking through the game, you get what you need. You don't have to work too hard to get anything. But for simplicity's sake, you didn't have to go that hard. Because the game feels like this and the magic feels like this.
So far,
the story actually seems super minimized compared to the magic.
And like, I wonder if there's a pacing to that. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes you'll get a rune first. Like, okay, here's a good example. You don't have the magic. You're like, okay, and you find an enemy and he's behind this like wall, magic wall.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I thought, at least me, because my brain, I love magic in games. I think is really cool. I was like, I bet we find a dispel type of a magic. You know,
I did hear you call that out pretty early.
I bet we find a dispel. I was like, this would be super cool. And then, but I had a rune, right? Like I had a rune and I didn't know what it did. And I think I had a codex, but the codex by itself doesn't tell you anything either. So it's like, okay, so I have one rune for here and I have a codex for something else, and I don't have these other pieces. So I have zero information. And then later I found the scroll that's like, boom, here's a dispel. I'm like, yes, I called it, you know? But then I'm like, cool, I have one of those runes, but I don't have the codex for it. So gosh darn, I have to keep playing, like knowing for sure there's a codex for that. And the other one, I had the codex, but not the rune. So, and so I think I understand what you're saying. It is kind of like, well, why do it in 3 pieces like that? But it's not necessarily a negative, because as you just progress, you just get the piece.
Yeah, it's not a negative. It's just like
you get
when you have to like you can almost get over confused by it, because like I admittedly I didn't get confused by it because I didn't pay too much attention to it. I literally didn't pay attention to whether I didn't fucking care what the codexes did. I didn't really care what the runes did. I just knew that after I collected enough things,
yeah,
the game stopped and told me I found what I needed.
It's definitely flavor. I think that's what maybe most of it is. It's just flavor, right? You're just like, okay, cool, I got a rune. And okay, cool, I got the codex. Because the rune, like I said, the rune before doesn't tell you anything. Like, it just question marks. So you find the rune, and I think your brain is like, I wonder what this does. You know? And I think, actually I know, I'm going to say this, I know that the magic is going to expand a little bit. To what degree, I don't know, but I understand.
Expand again?
Like, I understand.
Okay, I'll say that it needs no further expansion.
Like, I know what is potentially going to happen, because I think we have almost all the runes at this point.
I would like to think so.
But
because we have a lot.
But we don't have all the circles of power. We only have the first circle of power.
Yeah.
Which is 3. You can only mix 3 runes.
Oh my fucking god.
So we're going to get a 4th circle of power at least, and a 5th circle of power is my assumption. But what
as long as the spells are set in stone immediately, that kind of seems to me like
because
like selecting your spell selection, right? So like these are 3 component spells. These are 4 component spells. These are 5 component spells. Just as long as I don't have to craft one of those fucking 4 component spells every time I do it.
No, I mean,
once we figure it out, as long as it stays.
So there's obviously so you have the ability to map your spell, right? So if you want, okay, let's use enchant weapon. Let's just talk about enchant weapon. Enchant weapon takes a 3. It takes a 3. What did I just call them? Circles of power.
Power, yeah.
It takes a circle of power of 3, and it takes 1 rune of a specific magic color. I don't know the names of these things, like Ulagoth. Like one's like Ulagoth and one's something else. It takes 1 of those, and that denotes if it's magical or if it's like physical. So you have your blue, your red, health, and your sanity, which is green. So you denote those. And then you use the 2 runes that represent what that is. One is like, one word means item, and the other word means something else. But it ultimately means enchant item. That's one thing you have to do, but that's potentially 3 or 4 spells that you can just equip each one to your buttons, or you can go into your quick spell option where you just hit quick spell, you hit the circle of power of 3, you pick the color, and then you pick the one thing you're doing. Or I think you pick enchant weapon and then you pick the color. And that's it. That's the farthest it gets. So it seems like the spells will be, once you know what the spell is, it'll be locked into just a couple button presses rather than you having to select 10 different runes or something like that.
Yeah. Because the only time that we've really had to do any kind of changing up on, like, changing the color of the runes so far is either A, like, when you want to hit an enemy a little bit harder, or B, or actually there's 3, when you want to hit an enemy differently, I should say, or harder.
Yeah.
And then to reveal the basement door, you specifically needed to use the green.
Yeah, you had to use the color that was powerful against the defending color, I guess.
And then
and the dispel.
Yeah, then the dispelling the different runes in that one room, or in the temple as Lindsay.
Yeah. So far it's been straightforward and it's not too bad. So
yeah, it's not too bad, and again, like I said, it's not even a negative remark. It's just like, it's just noticing it, right? As playing the game, I'm like, wow, the story's pretty big, but the magic is like, I would venture to say it's obnoxiously like fleshed out to where it seems like this should be a magic using game. It's like there should be more here to work with, but it's like you don't even need to use it. Like I enchant my shotgun with red, and I fucking blow heads off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like I wish there was more reason to use magic, and hopefully that will happen in the second half of the game.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think, and then we're gonna move right into sanity after this. I think something that is, like, granted, we can look back like, oh, this game was 20 years ago, and we look at games now like Skyrim where you have scrolls, blah, 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 and you can just select a magic real quick and do anything. You're not actually crafting it, kind of like how it feels like in this game. But I think what kind of takes away from it, I think it's a technology aspect currently, is it does feel like, one, I don't get to use the magic as often as I would want to. And 2, unless I have it quick selected in a button, I do have to at least go into a menu and find what I'm doing. But I think that's just limitations on the system, not on the idea. I think the idea is phenomenal, and I love it, and I wish more games did a magic system like this, like a magic crafting system. I just wish it was executed a different way.
It should be more accessible. It should be more accessible.
And I chalk that up. I chalk that completely up to the system. Like, I think the magic system itself is cool. You pick a color, you pick exactly what spell you want to use. Then you equip it to a button. Super simple. But you just can't switch between. You can have 5 spells equipped, but you just can't switch between all 3 dispels or all 3 enchants or all 3 whatever on the fly, because you don't exactly know what situation you're walking into. So you do have to go into the menu a few times.
And you don't really need to that often.
Exactly, and that's
like,
what I'm saying. I just
like, they give you the quick slot stuff, but there's never a time. Well, first off, a major thing for that, like, because I have the damage push spell, where it'll, like, I don't know if you've used it yet or not.
Damage push?
Yeah, it's almost like a protection spell, where it'll push enemies around you.
Oh, will it? Huh? Oh, okay. It is a protection spell. I didn't know it pushed them. I don't use it.
Well, that's the way it seems.
I don't use it.
I haven't used it yet either, but it says, like, it literally is called, like, damage and then protect. Like, is the 2 words or whatever, so it makes it seem like it damages anything that protects you or, like, touches you.
It definitely casts a shell around your body.
Okay.
Just like that, like the Naga that you have to dispel, that it's trapped inside the thing.
Okay.
It's similar, except you can walk out of it and walk in it.
That's a little bit different then. I was going to say, if there are actively, like, because we haven't found every spell yet, if there are active, aggressive spells that you can use for something outside of investigation or buffing or healing, then there's not really a whole lot of room to do that, because so far every spell has had, except for the enchant item one. I don't know why the enchant item is quick. Like,
enchant's
it's
quick,
so fast,
and it freezes. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. So it actually
you got
gives
some
you a second.
iframes, which are really nice, and the healing is, and like I love it. I love the idea. Like, sure, yeah, you're like, hey, you're a person, you're chanting a spell. Like, that takes time to do, more than just like these other games where you just press a button. So it's very flavorful. It's really cool. I wish there was more to it, and hopefully there will be. And I just wish it was more accessible. If there's more, I also want it to be more accessible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the way it is fine.
It's not hurting anything. Don't fix what's not broken. But if they, long story short, don't fix what's not broken. But they turned it to 13.
Yeah,
they turned it to 13 on the Magic.
I think that's one of those things that makes it really, really good, right? So let's talk Sanity.
Yeah.
Let's talk Sanity.
Yeah.
We're going over our time a little bit, but this is our last point.
We could even...
Man.
Insanity could even just be nothing.
Man.
You could... the thing we talked about earlier?
Oh my gosh.
Could just have been it.
We could have talked about Sanity this entire podcast, I think.
Yeah.
So...
I have... What I have to say about it's not a lot. It's just cool. It's just really sick.
So let's break this down then. Let's break down Sanity. And okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Sanity. We're going to give a couple examples. And I think that's it. Okay? Can we do that? Is that possible?
Well, just this whole last half has to be like fun then.
Okay. So Sanity is a system which is just... So you have a health bar, you have a magic bar, and you have a sanity meter. A sanity meter is the thing that Eternal Darkness is known for. It is the thing. If there's anything anyone talks about, it's the sanity meter. Nothing else. When you as a character, as a player, encounter enemies, these enemies drain your sanity meter. And it goes down. Cool. Whatever, not a big deal.
Typical of a horror game.
Sure. And as you kill those enemies, when you kill an enemy or you beat an enemy down, you can finish the enemy off. And if you finish the enemy off, you gain your sanity back. Typical of, I think, any horror game, right? Here's the rub.
For the most part.
Here's the rub. When the sanity meter gets down below half, I think, stuff goes wonky. The camera starts
literally.
The camera starts tilting sideways, so you're like looking at a thing. I think I had an instance where I walked into a hallway and my character is like super huge and the hallway's like really tiny, dude. And I'm just like playing and I'm like wait, I was like this hallway's really small. And then it flashes back to where you had just like right where you were going into the hallway. Like your character starts having these hallucinations, and they're expressed in completely random ways. It's all random. Yeah. None of them are scripted. We haven't experienced the same thing. Maybe something similar. Like I was big in a hallway, you were big somewhere else.
Yeah, we definitely had the same things happen to us, but just at different places and different times. Because, yeah, dude, like, the first time it happened to me, I went up the ladder as Kareem, and I was in this fucking room, and I was huge, and I was like, wait, dude, what, is something wrong with the emulator right now? So I literally, like, remember I saved the game, and I shut it down and started it back up. Like, I hadn't even done the thing.
So you didn't even complete the whole...
I didn't even complete it, because sometimes it lasts a while. That's the other thing about the insanity is,
you
like...
have no idea.
It's like, bro, come on. I've been in this room for, like, 5 minutes while it's upside down. Just, like, fucking send me back already.
Yeah, oh, yeah, the upside down ones, I was like, is this just how it's going to be now? Do I have to just... And I'm running around, and the room's upside down. I'm on the ceiling. I'm like, how? And then all of a sudden, I think it's really clever. It's super good. Because those instances, you're like, cool, some of them are really short. And you're like, oh, because it's enough that you're like, what just happened? And then it snaps back.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Sometimes it's really good.
Bro, I don't know if you saw this, and I'm sorry if this spoils it for anybody. And I was so mad when this happened because I died. Like, I died, and I had to reload the game because of this sanity effect. So I'm sitting there, I'm getting beat down by an enemy, right? He's like, and I was able to run away to get enough space to heal because you have to cast the spell and you're not allowed to move. That's how you get your most healing. So I run away and I start healing, start doing the spell, and like electricity kind of like goes up your body. My body, like the whole top half of my body just explodes. So it's just like, dude, so it's just like legs standing there. That's it. That's all it is. I'm like, what happened? And then it flashes back and I'm standing in the same spot just enough for the enemy to come down, just hit me. And I died. I died anyway.
Oh my God.
I was so mad. I was like, no.
Yeah, that would have me triggered.
But it was so cool. Like the way it happened, I was mad because of that situation. I get it. Probably it would have happened. Ideally, I would have healed in a hallway with low sanity and I would have exploded and freaked out. But I was being chased by an enemy. But it's so good. And it's just short enough that you get that small little freak out and then you're back to normal. And then the long ones, my whole point of saying this is like the long ones are enough that you're like, come on, I know this isn't real, just end already.
Yeah,
like it's literally driving you insane. So it's just so clever. It's so clever.
Sometimes I'll be sitting in a room. There was a couple times where I was like, okay, are we going to switch back now? Like, I am tired of being on the ceiling, bro. Like, yeah. Or there was one where this was really fucking funny. Similar to how you're like, you'll explode.
Yeah.
My limbs started coming off.
Your limbs, like, they just started, like, falling off?
Yeah, so, like, my arm, like, came off. And I was like, that's a fucking, it's you being insane.
Dude,
like,
so
you just need it to be over with. But it didn't, it's not like my arm came off and then I went back. No, my arm came off. 30 seconds later, this arm came off. 30 seconds later, my head came off. Another 30 seconds later, my body came off.
That's so
And
funny.
then it was just legs. It was just legs for like 4 minutes. And I'm like, dude,
can we
get back to the game?
I had one instance where I think my head just like rolled off my body.
Dude,
and
no
that's
fucking
just,
way.
And that's just stuff that's physical in the game, right? So that's like stuff that
they
you're
also
seeing.
Break the fourth wall.
There's so much fourth wall stuff. My game is reset.
It literally will reset.
Those old school, I don't know. I don't want to keep saying these, but like one of the old school ones is like I'm playing, and then like the old school TVs that have like the volume and the green volume bars. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like that popped
yeah.
up on the screen, and the volume went down, and and the audio's gone, and the audio goes away. And I'm like, what's happening? And I could imagine playing. I used to have one of those TVs. So I could imagine playing way back in the day and like the volume meter just going down and a kid playing this game, like all of a sudden like, looks around to like yell at their brother or sister, like turn it back up, just to find out it was fake the whole time. It's so good.
Dude, honestly, if I was playing that kid when I was young, like really young, and something like that would happen, I wouldn't know that it's a game. I probably wouldn't know. Yeah. I would just be like,
yeah, it's just enough.
There's a ghost literally turning my TV off right now. Because they'll do that. Oh my god, the other funny one was them like telling you that it's a demo.
That it's a demo?
Like,
yeah, it's this game's not finished yet or something to be continued.
Yeah, it's like, there's more to come.
I'm waiting. Like... I think I want to say, I may be wrong on this, but like my brain was like, insert disc 2 or something. Like, I would love to see that, like an insert disc 2 screen.
Oh, insert disc 2? Be like, wait, I don't have a disc 2.
Yeah, that would be so funny.
And then it fucking switched back. Dude, so good.
Like, so the sanity effects are enough that it messes you up in the moment, and it's frustrating enough that it feels like it's driving you insane. And it's all just based on the insanity meter. Like, you need to keep that stuff up or you're gonna whatever. And
it can take a while to get through the game.
And the screen's just sideways if your sanity's low and nothing else is happening. So it's super good.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to play more.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm actually really, really loving this game so far.
So
super impressed, surprised.
It's super good. I think that's where we're just going to wrap up this episode. We're only halfway through the game. You can find me playing this game on Twitch. I don't know if Pants is playing it, but I'll be playing it on Twitch, finishing it up. And you can find me on twitch.tv/RX_Bishop_MD. And you can find me on YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that too.
Sick. I actually will not be playing this game on stream because I find it very difficult to focus on games if I'm going to be talking on it, if I have my chat pulled up and we're talking about fucking buttholes or whatever. But if you would like to talk about buttholes on my stream with me on any other game, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/NevrEndingPants, officially without the second E.
Yeah, and we'll always
my name.
It'll be 4 years from now, and it's never without the second E.
Always without the second E. But, yeah, you can find me on Twitch. It's primarily where you can find me. I got me on Twitter, Instagram as well. YouTube's going to be coming up. YouTube's a little slow right now. I've just been pretty busy and whatnot. But drop me a follow. Drop me a sub. Stay in tune with that tune so you can know when I drop shit.
Boom, yeah.
And I think that's all we really got today. Doc, yeah. You want to leave him with the old hit him with the 1-2, the old advice?
I was going to say, I'll drop the advice here in just a split second. I was also going to say, just keep an eye out for the next episode, especially the next episode of Eternal Darkness. As we talk about the second half of the game. So
it should be coming out. Let's see. I don't even know dates.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the date off the top of my head. It may be the next episode. It may be the following episode after that. It just keep an eye out for it. Just keep an eye out for the next episode in general, whether it be Eternal Darkness or anything. But as always, here at Scrub Hub, to the hubbies. The scrubbies.
Hubbies? Oh, I don't have a hubby.
You're all hubbies.
I mean, you're kind of the hubby.
You're all hubbies now.
I mean, if I have one.
You're scrubbies. To all the scrubbies. And all, what do we call the haters?
Scrub duds.
The scrub duds. All the scrubbies and all the scrub duds. If you're not good, get good.
Get good. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.